Good afternoon, Michael Malice here. Let that be your welcome for the next hour. Guys, this is, I think, the first very special episode of Your Welcome we have ever done because today's returning guest is someone who recently almost made me cry for good reasons, not
I know I
bad.
made you cry. Admit it.
What?
I know I made you cry. Admit it.
No, you didn't. Close. It was close. I was tearing up. We have a big mouth Ben Askren who won't let me do my intro. Ben is Olympic wrestler, national wrestling champion, MMA champion, shitty boxer, and a real all-around badass. I've hung out with him several times, and like many of you, a while ago, I just saw this Instagram video of Ben looking like bad AI because Ben, is a big dude, strong guy, and he was down to like I must have been like around 100 pounds or something like that. It turned out you
138.
had what's that?
138 was my lowest, but I'm usually
138.
close to 200, so that's it's quite the discrepancy.
Yeah, you had just had a double lung transplant. We
Mhm.
almost lost you.
Yes.
I am not ashamed to admit I prayed for you and your family. I'm sure a lot of other people did.
Yeah.
What's the harm? And I've met your wife Amy. She's a badass. And when you called me last week out of the blue, it was very kind of moving because when people say everything's going to be fine, it's one thing. But when someone calls you and wants to spend more time talking about Twitter, and that's their big concern, all right, this guy's going to be okay. So, Ben, I don't even know where to start. I'm curious from your perspective because you were in a coma for how long?
Roughly 40 days.
What's it like waking up? Is it disorienting? Do you remember any of it? I mean,
No, I don't. I don't really remember any of it. So, yeah, I went. Essentially, I was in Vegas for the Bitcoin conference. Um, I had this back pain, and I thought it was a back spasm, and it had been going on for kind of a while. And finally, my wife's like, "Hey, let's go to the hospital." I'm like, "Okay, fine." I'm like,
but
whatever,
can
I'll
I
go.
ask? You're
Yeah.
like a really tough guy, right? Like people don't realize this. Of all the MMA people, the wrestlers are often the toughest because it's such a sport where it's just you. You don't have a team. You and another guy. You really kind of develop this sense of toughness. So, am I correct that for her to get your ass to the hospital, it takes some work? You're really gonna, or am I wrong?
No, you're right, because that was Wednesday, and the pain had been there since the previous Saturday. But like I said, I was pretty convinced it was back spasm, but it would have been like the worst one I ever had. But it was in a similar area to where I've had other ones, so that was kind of why I was convinced of that. So we went to the hospital the first day on Wednesday, and I told the doctor my symptoms. But the weird thing was, every vital I had was just perfectly normal. Heart rate, blood pressure, oxygen, everything was totally normal. And so I said, "Man, I got this pain. I've had a very similar pain before. I think it's a back spasm. Can you give me the medicine because the muscle relaxants actually work great for back spasms, and they generally heal it." And so I got the stuff, and then that night everything went way downhill. I mean, like, I couldn't sleep. I kept trying to like get in the bathtub, maybe to loosen up my back or whatever. Um, but I was still I was still stubborn and delusional. And when I woke up, my wife had filmed me sleeping and sent it to a few doctors that we know, and they said, "Get his ass to the hospital as fast as you can." And I was still like, "Just let me get some coffee. I'll be all right." Like,
Wait,
I was really
what was so weird about the sleep that the doctors were triggered by it?
I was breathing really, like, short and fast.
Okay.
And, actually, like, and I obviously I didn't realize this about myself because you can't look at yourself, or I didn't go in the mirror, but my face looked like shit. I mean, I'm sure Amy will post a video at some point, but my face just looked terrible. I was almost like super big bags under my eyes. Like, it was just, I looked really rough. And, so I had a friend and his wife with us, and they're like, "Dude, you should go to the hospital again." And then literally, Amy got in the it's really funny. She told me this afterwards. I didn't realize it, but she had my friend and his wife trail us to the Uber because she thought I might be non-compliant to going again. um, but so I got an Uber again. We went to the
She knows her husband.
I know, so funny. So we got to the hospital, and literally, I remember walking in it's the same exact one we went to the previous day. I remember walking into the waiting room, and then nothing, like nothing. And then the next thing I know, I wake up in the hospital, and I'm like, "What happened to me?" I have no idea how much time's passed. And my first thought was, okay, how did I mess myself up? And I started trying to think through all of the events in June. Like, was I driving? Did I get in a car accident? Like, what actually happened to me? I had no idea.
My God. So I mean, I'm sure you've talked to her since about what, from her perspective, that poor woman. Like you didn't put her through enough already with when you're awake. What can you explain what happened there?
Um, yeah, I mean, so basically, I'll go through the kind of the fast version. Um, I had a staph infection. It was like a really small one. I thought it had cleared up. I mean, like, I'm like, you can see staph on your skin. It kind of looks gross. And then if you treat it correctly, it goes away. And this one, to me, it appeared to go away. But at some point during the whole process, and it had gotten to my bloodstream. And then from my bloodstream, it had went to my lungs, which who even knew that was a thing? And that
Right.
was like, some people say I was too reckless or careless. And it's like, who've ever heard of something like this?
Right.
Like, it was never even under my radar of consideration of like, oh, maybe that's happening. Like, I didn't even know that did happen.
And it's
Um,
not like you have an inhaler and you're inhaling staph disease. Like, what are they
yeah,
talking about careless? Right.
so weird. So it's like, people say like, if I could do it again, would I do it differently? And it's like, I don't know that I would have because I didn't know that was a thing. Like, I
Yeah.
had no idea. So yeah, so I'm at one hospital for a couple days. And Amy's consulting with our friends who are doctors, and one of them actually even flew out to Vegas to help. She kind of realized that that hospital wasn't maybe all that great. I got transferred to a different hospital in Vegas that was better, but then they didn't have what they needed to keep me alive. So my friends actually, I mean, this is where it's like, oh, and I'm gonna make you cry. I get emotional, but like, as my friends that cared about me, they put together a freaking life flight home. They got me a effing medical transport jet and they flew me home. I was awake during none of this. My friends paid for it and they flew me home. And it was just like Milwaukee. Freighted Hospital is one of the better places. They have both ECMO and the lung transplant division that are like really good, So it just happened. It was weird that um, me flying back here to where I'm from is one of the better places for this procedure, I guess, in the United States. And one of our other friends, who is not a doctor, but she's a nurse practitioner, she actually works in the CVICU, which is where I ended up. Um, yeah, so kind of wild story. So then, they flew me back home and I was here and they were using something called ECMO to keep me alive. I got so bad I had to go on double ECMO. Um, and then, yeah, eventually they decided I wasn't going to make it if I didn't get a lung transplant.
But hold on, you're going a little fast. Can you tell us
All right.
from, like, from her perspective, how was she keeping it together? Because she's a mom too. So, a lot of kids joke about my dad can beat up your dad. Well, in your
Uh,
case, it's true, right? You could beat up pretty much any dad, maybe other than like 5 people. So, were the kids, was she keeping them informed? Like, what was going on with that? That's gotta be
yeah.
scary as hell.
Um, I kind of haven't really went super deep into those details because there's been, just so much going on. So, to my understanding, um, she told me I was sick and in the hospital, but I don't think she ever went to the full extent
Okay.
of how bad it was at the time because we didn't know what the outcome would be. So it's like,
Oh
why tell
god, yeah.
them the
Yeah,
worst possible outcome? And they're young, and it's not like they were going to be able to have an impact on it. But another time in which our community like really rallied around us. I had so many college wrestling friends literally come into town and stay at my house and take care of my kids. Where when Amy was coming to take care of me, so it's
that's so
like a
great.
really like all my friends went over and above, and so sorry, I get emotional. I'm talking about this.
You should
Um,
be emotional. This is a wonderful thing. This is why this is Thanksgiving's episode because
yeah,
this could have gone so south, and thank God that you're here with us, and you can
but
still be dad with them
yeah,
and husband to
yeah.
Amy.
And even if I think about even if I had died, it's like what my friends did for me. Luckily it ended up good. But even if it didn't, like the fact that so many of them were willing to drop whatever they're doing in their lives and come here and help us. Both my college wrestling friends, some of Amy's college friends, my high school friends, kind of were just like really, really willing to step up and help. And so Amy was able to spend a lot of time in the hospital. And between Amy and my dad, my mom, and my brother, they were kind of like rotating through. But then, Amy had to be mom too, so she actually set
Yeah.
up this. I don't know. It was like essentially a volunteer form, and she would have people there. So someone was always in my room with me, even when I was unconscious. And so it's like this. The amount of support we got was really amazing, and um, there's kind of now kind of a lot of funny stories from that. But yeah, I mean, there was, I have two friends where it's like the one time they were in there, that was when I almost died the worst, where it's like my heart literally went stopped. Everyone
Mm.
rushes to the room and they were like, oh my God, what's happening? And then there was another time where when they had to put the second ECMO in, I don't really understand the process totally, but they had to essentially stop the first one. If that one stopped too long, I can't generate enough oxygen in my blood on myself. So I'm done, So there's always like, if they can't make this happen fast enough, then I'm done. So yeah, I mean, it's so many things to be grateful for.
Oh my God. I mean, so I don't even know where to start. And I mean, also the other thing that people have to realize is, you're such like a athlete, obviously a world champion athlete, but she's also not only seeing you unconscious, they have to watch you wasting away and physically. So that's, it's one thing to be a machine. It's another thing to watch someone. I mean, that's got to be scary as hell.
Yeah, I think she tries not to relive that too much.
Okay.
I woke up. One of the doctor friend had kept kind of like almost a journal, day to day journal. So I was able to kind of like read through that and grasp some things. But there's like all these things that my wife tells me, and apparently I was awake, but I have no recollection. Like apparently my eye got lazy for a while, and they didn't know if my eye was ever going to work again. And they actually had it's funny because I don't know why, but my family kept the glasses and they popped them out every once in a while. But I essentially had glasses and they covered one eye because my one eye was just floating off in the middle of nowhere. Um, and there was kind of like a whole bunch of stuff like that where like I guess I said something or she says one time like I had to give permission to get the lung transplant, which is so weird when you're unconscious. But
Right.
she would get me to wake up every day and say, "Hey Ben, you're good with us doing the lung transplant," and I would say, "I don't remember this, right?" But I would say, "Yeah, yeah, let's do it." And then, not say I would nod my head because I was kind of inaudible at that point. But then she said the one day I did it, and I could tell you were so pissed because I had asked you the question 5 times and you already gave me the answer. So she said I was like, I was like mad at her for asking me again. Like, yeah, you already asked me. Let's freaking get on with it. So there's a kind
Oh
of
my
a
God.
couple of funny stories like that where
Hey
I,
Ben. Hey
yeah.
Ben. Do you want to annul the prenup? Ugh.
Yeah. So, um, yeah, I have, I have no recollection of those ones. Um, but I guess they happened or so, I was, I guess, semi-conscious or somewhere like that. And that was, so that lasted, um, I went in May 28th and then to my recollection, July 2nd would be the next day that I
Oh my God.
like, I remember waking up and I think it was July 2nd or 3rd and so it was the middle of the night. And I had no idea where I was or what I was doing. Funny enough, I actually thought I was in Salt Lake City for a few days. I had no idea. I have no idea why I thought that, but I kept saying, "Call my wife," or I couldn't really talk, so I'd like mouth it, like that type of
Yeah, yeah.
stuff. Um, and they kept saying, "Well, no, she's not awake yet. It's 4:30 a.m." And I would say, "No, it's 6:30 a.m. her time." And they probably had no idea what I was talking about. They're like, "This guy's on drugs or something." But I thought I was in Salt Lake, so it was 2 hours later her time, and
Yeah.
I wanted to talk to her, like so. Yeah, some funny things like that.
Wait, so what was your reaction? How long when you woke up, did you realize, "Wait a minute, why am I so skinny?" Did you feel weak? Did you feel what like, what's that like, waking for real?
Well, you know what? You want to hear a funny memory? I actually just told my wife this last night. Um, so the first one was like, how did I get here? But to how weak I was, no, I didn't notice. I'll tell you two funny stories here. Remember last night? I don't know why it just recalled me, but the first day I came home, which I mean that's I don't remember which day it was. It was late July sometime, so probably 3 to 4 weeks after. I remember getting out of bed and I just kept saying, Amy, you must have gotten a new blanket because I can't move because this blanket is so heavy. And then eventually I had her take that one off me and bring me like a different blanket. But like I was so weak, I literally couldn't move the blanket that I was sleeping in.
Oh my God,
Like
wow.
that's
Oof.
and that's 3 or 4 weeks after. That's not even the beginning. But the
Yeah.
funny one was I had two ex wrestlers who they're both adults now, both out of college. and they came to visit me one morning, and I have no, I'm on drugs, whatever, so I have no idea why, but I kept saying, "You guys, you're going to get me out of here. This is like jail. You got to get me out of here." And they're like, "No, man. Like, look at all those wires and cords." And at that point, I probably had eight tubes or wires sticking into my body, and I kept going, "You guys are pussies. Get me out of here. Carry me if you need to. You have to get me out of here. You have to help me escape." They got me. It's like a jail, and so it's like, again, I couldn't even come close to walking at that point. I don't. At that point, I don't know if I could have stood up on my own.
Right.
And I was so convinced that they had to get me out of there. They had to escape me from the jail.
Folks, you know that one person you struggled to come up with a gift for? For me, it was Roseanne, by the way, and I got her something really, really cool, and I haven't given it to her yet, but we're going to record it. It's going to be fun. You can't do that, but what you can do is give someone the gift of clean drinking water. And this is a product I use because Texas, Austin at least, has water that's so high in iron, it was leaving an orange crust around my faucets. And I have all those plants, and I want those plants to be happy and healthy. I don't want them full of iron and who knows what else is in there. So I want to talk to you about Cove Pure. It's an easy setup, no installation. It looks super sleek and nice. You could put it on your counter like I have. It's not one of those big, clunky, industrial-looking water purifiers. And most importantly, Cove Pure is lab certified to remove up to 99.9% of contaminants from your water. That includes stuff like PFAs, pharmaceuticals, fluoride, lead, arsenic. It's the purest water you can get. What, to me, makes a great gift is something a person will use every day, because every day when they use it, they're going to think of you. And you give them the gift of clean water, which is like something almost biblical in its purity and goodness. So if you're looking for a gift for your loved ones, or quite frankly, I'm glad I have one, I recommend Cove Pure. And because I partnered with them, they're giving you a special $250 holiday discount with my link at covepure.com/malice. That's covepure.com/malice for $250 off. Covepure.com/malice. Hurry before the sale ends, and everyone will be thanking you this holiday season. Let's get back to the show. So let's talk about the transplant a bit. So by the way, if people really want to get emotional, if you go online, there's videos of people who are transplant recipients meeting the parents of the person who gave them the transplant. So it's a dad hearing his son's heart inside another man's body and who has a stethoscope. And it's the most emotional shit ever, because how wonderful is that your son passed, but at least he saved a life with his last action. It's, I think, a wonderful thing. Was there concern that there wouldn't be lungs available? Like, is this something, like, how does that work?
I have no idea at all. I wasn't aware.
Okay.
I actually read two other transplant people's books, and I think one of the reasons I kind of moved to the top of the list pretty quickly, because one of the things which who knows in this world, right? I never would have known this, but if you actually have like a immediate life-threatening condition, like there's some people who like they're sick, but they don't have a life-threatening condition. Like, I was going to die relatively quickly had I not got the lungs. And then the second one was, I kind of checked all the boxes. I never smoked. I never drank. I was, lived a healthy life. I had a lot of good support. So there's kind of a whole bunch of boxes I checked. I do know my wife told me like there was a couple other, like, I don't know, is it possibles before? But you want to hear a crazy stat? I've talked to two companies who specialize in like transplant medicine or transplant products. They just want to hear like the patient's stories, so I agreed to talk to them. I had no idea of this. This specific company, they're making products to keep the organs essentially alive longer, so the transplant process is a little bit easier. But did you know with the heart, how long? This is crazy to think about. How long from when someone dies till it's in the next person's body? How long do you think you have?
So this was funny because I'm going to give you a funny answer. There was a show called Veep, which is, I think, my favorite comedy of recent times. And Selena Meyer, she's the vice president. And there's an episode where she's at the Iowa State Fair, and Hugh Laurie, who played House, was a senator, and he's a man of the people. He's glad handing everyone, giving them anecdotes. Oh my God, you're amazing. She's really bad at it. So a woman comes to the front of the line, and she's like, oh, Selena's like, Julia Louis Dreyfus, I like your pin, your B pin. She goes, well, my name's B. And she goes, Do you know how much honey a honeybee produces over its life? And the woman goes, no, ma'am. And Louis Dreyfus goes, well, it's either surprisingly a little or surprisingly a lot. And it's just really, really awkward. So with the heart, I know the answer has to be surprisingly a lot or surprisingly a little. Now I will say probably a lot because the heart is a muscle. Muscle, I don't think rots that easily. And it's kind of self-sustaining. So I would say 48 hours.
Well, you had a coin flip and you coin flipped wrong.
Oh,
They told me it's 4 hours.
no. Are you serious?
Yes, and so the surgeon has to go cut it out, retrieve the heart, take a plane back, and put it into a body in 4 hours.
Holy
That was what they
shit.
told me. And so they said there are now starting to be products that come out that make that longer. The heart is, I guess, the shortest one. Now, again, you guys double fact check me. This is what I was told today by someone who's that's what they do for a living. But I thought that was totally insane. So the other thing that I had I never thought about this space, but the first double lung transplant, successful one, I believe was in 1988. And to
Holy
this
shit.
point, there's only been 50,000 ever in the world.
Oh my God.
So like this is almost like a little bit of I won't say a new frontier, but like that's kind of a really, really low number.
Yeah, when my nephew who's 8, he has Crohn's, and when I was an adult, I knew someone with Crohn's, and they're like, if you have it, you're gonna get a colostomy bag, stunted growth, malnutrition. But now it's almost like diabetes. Once you figure out what they can eat, and they have certain treatments, they have a full normal life. So it's just amazing how fast technology progresses. I'll give you some other good advice, and this
Okay.
is kind of my friend Chris is a investor in biotechnology. They are now working on having basically it's a torso. It's like a living torso full of organs. And what they're going to do is instead of replacing like the lungs, they're going to replace everything at once. Because if you
What?
just have the port, think about it. If you just have the port at the throat and the
Yeah.
port at the anus, and you have a robot do it, it's a lot easier than going in and reattaching every single little piece.
Yeah. So the other thing I heard too, that sounds weird also. And
Right.
it's also weird when you call it anus a port. That was really strange.
But what would you know what I mean? It is kind of right. It's an
Yeah.
outport.
Um, Someone told me they've already done this with the heart, but someone told me a doctor, so I think he knows what they're talking about. That they are able to take your own DNA and they're constructing organs with some type of I don't know if it's a 3D printer or something similar, and they think within 10 years they're gonna be able to do it kind of almost on a mass scale.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's where and the FDA is a real problem with this because you're not allowed to experiment on people. But if you can't experiment on people, how are you going to prove this technology works? And it's
Yes.
this insane catch 22, and it's really awful. And right now, people are dying not because of other stuff like this, where they just won't let you. Even if someone's dying, it's like, look, I don't care if I'm dying anyway. Let me try this medicine. They're like, sorry, like it's not allowed. It's really
Yeah. The FDA
bad.
is a problem on a lot of things.
What? Well, yeah. So let me ask you. So, do you know who the donor is?
I don't. I was told you have to wait till 1 year to find out. So I think they want to. I think the reasoning is because my wife actually gave plasma at one point. I think for like a leukemia patient or something, and I guess he didn't make it, or he or she, I'm not sure, did not make it. So she never found out who it went to. I think they want to do that so that there's a positive outcome to it.
Are you curious to who it was?
Yeah. I don't know. I think it's for me. It's more of like I want to show my gratitude, and when you think about it, it's so sad because essentially that I wouldn't have my lungs if that person didn't pass. Uh, so it's like I guess you're not going to talk to the person obviously, but the family of that person, to so that they know that I guess I'm respecting and honoring the fact that he had to pass for me to get these, and then I'm doing the best I ideally can to keep that going. I'm not wasting the opportunity.
Yeah, of course. So are you so talk about quality of life. How are you do you have to take like antiviral anti immune suppressant for the rest of
Yeah,
your life?
immunosuppressants. That's the one where if they do the if they get the thing where they can make it out of your own DNA, you
Yeah,
won't have to. So it's a big thing.
right.
I don't believe they've yet figured out how to make the immunosuppressants not negatively affect you over a long course of time. I did tell these guys, I'm just going to tell my DNA to take these motherfuckers over, and then they're going to be my lungs, and then I don't have to take it anymore. So I told the doctors that. So if I'm able to make it come true, you heard it here first on this show.
That is the wrestler mentality.
The
This is my
doctor,
house and I'm in control, period.
every single time I say it, the doctor's just like, and they roll their eyes at me. I'm like, no, I'm serious. Like, it's going to happen. And they're like, you're insane. Like, please leave us alone. Um, so yeah,
Please.
so that's, well, I guess I don't have a full scope on the quality of life because I'm still in the process of improving. And then also, what led me to that was the staph, which is, and essentially something called sepsis is what I got.
Yeah.
Um, your recovery for that is like a year, and then recovery from lung transplant, double lung transplant, is like a year. So you stack those on top of each other. I feel as though, and my doctors make it out as though I am recovering very fast, and I'm trying to do all the right things to enable that to happen. Eating a good diet, making sure I do all my rehab, sleeping, like all those things. Um, yeah, the medicines are a big pain in the butt, and then early on, and this is it's funny because I was saying some people, um, it's a weird balance. So they say like I can't complain anymore because I should just be so grateful that I'm alive, which I am fully grateful that I'm alive. That
Yeah.
doesn't mean I don't get to complain
Of course.
anymore.
Yeah.
So like 2 weeks ago, I had a blood test that showed low white blood cell, so I had to go to the hospital 4 days that week to get a shot for that. It's like, that's super inconvenient when you think like, I want to try to like lead a normal life, and now I got to go to the hospital 4 to 5 days of the week. Like it's annoying. So yeah, probably that and the medicines, and then actually I just told someone today something that I'm having a hard time with now is I can't be around sick people. So I have not been out in crowds yet. I'm teaching like really small groups of wrestlers, and I know I say, hey, you can't be sick. If you're sick, please don't come. And I keep my distance and stuff like that. But now that I'm kind of like, I'll say out and about a little more, I'm still not around crowds. But someone sees me who hasn't seen me in a long time, the first thing they want to do is come give me a hug. And
Right.
instead of me getting to say, hey, man, I haven't seen you in a long time. It's so great to see you. The first thing I have to say is, hey, are you sick?
Yeah. Yeah.
Dude, that sucks. It's like, you know what I'm saying? It's like this person's so excited to see you, and I am equally excited to see them. But the first thing I have to say is, are you sick? Because if you're sick, like, I'm sorry, we can't we can't touch or get close or nothing.
Are you a comic book fan?
No.
Because there's a character in Marvel Comics called Rogue, and her power is if she touches someone, she gets their powers and memories, so she can't ever touch anyone, and it makes her crazy. So yeah, I mean, you're a wrestler. You're grabbing people all the time. That's your bread and butter. So to not have that human contact since you were a wrestler since you were a kid, I think that's obviously a big deal.
Yeah. So if you could touch anyone and steal their powers, whose powers would you steal? I know my answer.
I mean, probably the Flash, right? Because then you could do anything.
No, I'd steal Elon Musk's powers.
Well, you have autism already. It's just a waste of time.
Mike, I saw some idiot online saying that a teacher works harder than Elon Musk, and I thought, and then someone came to his defense about saying like I worked with him and he's running 4 companies and kind of like here's his daily schedule, and they're like that's just because he's disorganized, and it's like oh my god you're so stupid, and it's like for me someone who prides myself on having a good work ethic, that guy's like he's totally insane.
Elon Musk doesn't get summers off.
He doesn't get any time.
I work harder than Elon Musk, except for 3 months a year. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like teachers are the most. It's really amazing how teachers insist how great they are when everyone has had experience with dozens of them. This isn't like you have to tell me about some weird bird in Africa that no one's heard of. We've all met them. We all want this. People who become teachers. It's a hard job. I wouldn't like it, but these are not. They really think very highly of themselves. And I say this as someone who thinks very highly of himself for no reason. So it's really it's not a fun profession, but give me a break. And here's the other thing: if you're working hard for your 100 grand a year, where you could be working lazy and being a billionaire, I'm not impressed.
That's true. That man he's so hardworking, and it's one of those things where they just like feel the need to crap on someone for no reason because there's no way in hell they're that delusional that they think this guy doesn't work insanely hard.
They don't. Right, exactly. There's the old joke: those who do, those who can do, those who can't teach.
Yes.
Speaking of teaching, you're a coach.
Well, listen, the teachers, I'm not trying to crap on you. I'm only trying to crap on the one person who was making this stupid statement. That's another thing I have immense gratitude for is like in the schools that my kids go to, they've been lucky to have some, and I know there's some crappy teachers, but they've been lucky to have
Sure.
super amazing teachers. And I know it's like a real huge positive impact on their life. So I'm only crapping on the idiot on Twitter who is talking nonsense.
But also, I'm sure growing up, like you had some coaches that really encouraged you and made a profound
Yes.
difference in your life.
Big time. Absolutely.
Yeah.
I was lucky to have a whole bunch of them. I actually just did my mental Monday yesterday on one of my favorite things in coaching is getting a kid to think that they're capable of doing things. And there's so many kids who kind of grow up in life and they don't think they're good enough, or they think, oh, I can't do that or whatever. And so to get them to kind of buy into themselves. And right. So the other part of that is like, I didn't say it was going to be easier. I didn't say it was going to be given to you. I just said you could do it if you put your mind to it.
Yeah.
And so I think that's kind of something that's, really important for coaches and teachers and parents and that type of thing.
Yeah, it was Matt Hughes who taught me. He took me to the gym like for the first time and showed me how to work out. I'm not kidding about this. I broke a nail, and I didn't even know what breaking a nail actually was until it happened to me at the gym. And I'm like, holy shit, this is some kind of someone making fun of me. But I realized you don't have to be at the level of fitness of a world-class athlete. You could still be better. It's not Arnold Schwarzenegger or disgusting. There's a gradation, and anyone can be in better shape than they are now.
100%. And, I always say you could take that thought process to almost anything. If you believe, hey, I'm capable, that means number one, I'm willing to work. And number two, I'm willing to problem solve. And so if I want to be a great podcaster, I could do that. I'm going to go start, actually my very first podcast, and I am doing a lot of different podcasts and many episodes, but my first one was literally because my friend goes, hey, I want to start a wrestling podcast. I'm like,
yeah,
I did too. And we didn't even get paid anything for the first ones. We just started. And then, he ended up getting too busy. And then, people enjoyed my podcast. And then someone picked me up and then someone else picked me up. And, that's kind of like how it worked. But it was just because, hey, I don't know if I'm good at this right now, but I want to try it. And if I try it, I'm going to like work hard at it and try to be better. So I think.
And you're doing it for yourself too.
Yeah. And you do it for, 100%.
It was actually really cute because he also told me that first of all, people need to realize this. If you've never been to the gym and you're self-conscious, no one cares what you're doing. And if they do care, they're supporting you. If you're like a big person at the gym, everyone's your fan. They're like, good for you. You're here just like me. I'm rooting for you. And it was really cute because Matt told me, hey, if some big dude gets in your face, you tell him dynamite comes in small packages. And I'm like, Matt, I think to myself, if someone runs their mouth, that's my field. Don't worry about it. That one I got covered. You show me proper form.
That's a good line, though.
It's not a good line.
That's kind of a good line.
You're telling me if some jack dude gets in my face and I said dynamite comes in small packages, I don't deserve to be put in a garbage can?
Well, you're only like, what, 150 or something?
161.
No, you're not that small, I suppose.
I mean, I'm smaller than a lot of these dudes at the gym. They're like gorillas.
True. Yeah, it's kind of.
But that never happens. These big guys are not there to pick on people.
Hey, random thought. You know what my favorite thing on X is right now?
What?
Have you ever watched this guy Anatoly who does the weightlifting things?
Oh, the one who looks like he's like not that anything, and he goes around the bodybuilder, just picks up with one hand. Yeah.
He makes me die laughing because, you said, the big guys don't like pick on you at all. He does kind of start it with them, right? He goes in there and kind of like mess with them, but then then they usually like laugh at him or something, and then he does something totally ridiculous. My favorite is when he goes, "Ooh, helicopter," and he picks it up and he starts spinning around with it, and he says helicopter, and all the people are like, oh my God, he's going to die right now.
Yeah, there's a great 4chan post I saw, and who knows if it's true, but it's a funny story about a guy who's like a pretty big dude. What he likes to do in the off season is get a little extra bulk, so he looks just fat. and then he gets a free lesson from the most broy personal trainer there is at the gym. And as he's like whining the whole time and starts blowing past the guy's PR as if this is his first time working out, and the guy has no idea what the hell's going on.
So funny. I love it.
Yeah. So let's talk about like the future. Is this something where you will always be like you're never going to be able to wrestle again? You're obviously.
Oh,
I mean,
listen, I haven't wrestled competitively in a long time, and I don't know if
I don't
I'm
mean competitively. I just mean even like with
no, I'm gonna wrestle.
Okay.
That's one of those things where it's the doctor and me, and so like when I asked to wrestle Jordan Burroughs for charity all the way back in 2019, the UFC said, "Well, their concerns are you going to get hurt?" I said, "Listen, I wrestle or do combat every day. I've wrestled thousands of matches in my life. I've never been injured. I think the chances of that are 0.00001. So I'm going to let it fly." And so I'll say, "What are the concerns?" And if the concerns is, "Hey, you're at an increased chance of getting sick or something," I'll obviously have to really pick my partners and make sure no one's sick and
Sure.
that type of thing. But if that's the biggest concern, then I feel like you got to live your life a little bit. I can't just stay in a bubble the whole time. So I'm going to do my best to not die, which is, it's good to not die. So that's what I'm going to do. But I also got to live life a little bit.
Folks, having a cool wallet makes people think you're a cool person. It's camouflage because none of you are. And that's where Ridge wallets come in. You probably heard of Ridge because they've got those unique, slim, modern wallets. Well, say hello to Ridge 2.0. They've been perfecting the wallet for 12 years, and now everything's better on Ridge 2.0. It's 10% lighter. It's more modular with improved cash straps, money clips, and the AirTag attachments. And it's got improved surface design with tonal logos and matching and plated cash straps. It holds up to 12 cards plus cash made from aluminum, titanium, carbon fiber, and over 50 colors and styles to choose from. You can even get a wallet that features every NFL, MLB, or college team. These are the perfect holiday gift for that guy in your life who doesn't really have a good wallet. And then he'll be remembering you every single day because he'll be using that Ridge. They've got over 100,000 five-star reviews. That's proof that Ridge is a gift people love to receive. Losing your wallet is the worst. However, Ridge has a tracker card now, so you'll always know exactly where it is. Don't panic. It's probably in your couch cushions. For a limited time, Ridge is having their huge Black Friday sale. Head over to ridge.com. Get up to 47% off your order. This is by far the biggest discount they've given all year. That's ridge.com for up to 47% off your order during the biggest sale of the year. After you purchase, they'll say, "Hey, how'd you hear about us?" Tell them Michael Malice sent me. What a great gift idea, including for yourself. You are welcome. Let's get back to the show. So have you ever, my friend Judy McGuire, she had a little melanoma like the size of a grain of rice in her ankle, and she got it removed, and now she's like, I'm a cancer survivor, right? So do you ever play that card if like you and Amy like want to go to different movies? You're like, come on, I have a double lung transplant. I almost died.
I haven't used that on her, so
Right?
I
Free
might
of
have
charge.
to. Have I used it on anyone at all? I don't think I've used that on anyone at all, but
It's such a good line. It's true too.
I guess the only people like I do is my kids. Sometimes they forget. Like at this point, I can do most things. Like there's not a ton I can't do, but like it's funny because it's mental also. Like yesterday, I used a lot of mental energy, and I feel like not quite as sharp today. Or if I physically use a lot of energy, then the next day I'm usually like worn out. And so my 8 or 7-year-old Ozzy's like, let's play catch, and then okay, cool, let's play. But then he wants to just keep playing for 7 hours. I'm like, bro, like I can't keep playing. I'm sorry. And then he'll be disappointed. I'll be like, dude, like I'm sorry, but I just had a double lung transplant. I promise at some point I'll be much better, but it's just not today.
But I think that's really great that he doesn't realize what a close call dad had, that you guys kept that from him.
Yeah.
Like that's really good because it's got, I can't even imagine I wouldn't wish that on almost anyone, how traumatic that must be for a kid to have to go through that.
Yeah.
So,
I don't think, to your point, I don't think they were aware that it was that bad.
Yeah. That's so wonderful. So, I know the answer. I still want to hear from your mouth. This is Thanksgiving week. What are you doing for Thanksgiving and what are you thankful for?
Well, we're gonna go to my dad's house, my family, and oh man, I feel like I've already like given like 27 things I have gratitude for, um, just in in this phone call. But it's almost like too much to say because, um,
How
I
about
mean,
this one? Let me ask this way.
yeah, go for
What
it.
is it that you took for granted before that now you're like, "Oh, man, I really had it lucky and I didn't even realize it"? I think that's a better question.
Yeah. Well, I think what I would say to that the most is. Um, I feel like maybe my friends maybe feel like I wasn't a good enough friend. Like to see, like I've said how far out of their way so many of them went to help and support and do that thing, and that makes me feel like I have to do better for the people around me. And I would venture to say that I feel like I've been a pretty good friend, but they made me feel like I need to step it up even more.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good message to have. I mean, is it when you were awake and you reconnected with some of these people who were watching you while you were, unconscious, is it like super emotional? Are you guys busting each other's chops? What's that vibe like?
Um, yeah, most of the time it was not emotional. It was, it was just honestly just catching up. And especially in the early time, it wasn't like I had a ton of energy. Like, lots of times I would be talking to my friend and then I would just get so tired and I just fall asleep, and I'd wake up and they'd be sitting there, or, sometimes they'd say, hey, I had to run. So see ya. Um, yeah, so I would say not too many sentimental ones. It was really cool. There was a handful of friends that I hadn't seen in quite a while. What I would have considered them a close friend, but sometimes life just gets busy,
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
for one reason or another. I hadn't seen them, and they came to visit. And then I thought the other funny thing was, from a support perspective, there was through whether it was public personas or private people, people who um, maybe I viewed as not friendly towards me. I don't know if you want to call it either enemies or um,
Rivals.
rivals, or I just didn't think they liked me or wanted to deal with me much. Um, that type of thing. Um, that kind of like supported me, or that type of thing. That was really surprising to me.
Well, I think there's a big difference between, "Hey, this guy Ben's a loudmouth and I don't like his attitude," and, he's, unconscious and he's got a family. There's a difference between, like, swagger and running your mouth in the cage and, now it's serious.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's definitely fair. Um, Yeah, and that's something maybe like I feel like maybe I also, should do a better job of. I feel like maybe certain times in the past, I really try not to, and of those people who I have held grudges against, it's not something like I take the time to obsess about, because I think that's
Sure.
um, counterproductive to living a healthy life. Um, but maybe just forgive a little easier.
Yeah, or just yeah, I mean, especially Christmas coming around, it's a gift to yourself to be like, "You know what? I don't know what this person's path was.
Hmm.
Maybe they said some shit about me 5 years ago. I don't care anymore. I hope they're happy with their family
Yeah.
and, let's start fresh with the new year." I think that's really a thing more of us can kinda take to heart, and I do that myself. It's like, "You know what? This was 10 years ago. I don't care. I'm me. I hope they're fine. It's not like they hit me with a car or something like that."
Yeah. I thought we were going to talk about socialism because that was what I called you about.
Yeah. So for people, I'll tell people the backstory. This is what's so funny. The phone rings. I'm in New York for Gutfeld. It's Ben, and I couldn't believe it was you. Because
Yeah.
I was delighted, and then you just start asking me about socialism, and it was funny because later I texted you, and I'm like, "Hey, are you in a place where you could do an interview?" And Mister on the spectrum goes, "Oh, not right now." And I'm like, "I don't mean like in a physical place."
I thought that's what you wanted.
Like, I'm gonna call Ben Askren and go, "I need an interview right now." It's like
Right?
I'm not the
Immediate.
news.
So funny. My bad. I'm
Um,
autistic. I know it. I'm not
no, but the
not
so it's
ashamed of it.
so is literally everyone in my audience, so you're perfectly
There we
fine.
go.
So the question you had, and this is actually something that is important to you. under socialism, a socialized healthcare, you're a cost. There's a big incentive to get rid of this guy because otherwise my budget's through the roof. Margaret Thatcher famously said the problem with socialism is eventually run out of other people's money. And it's like it's a lot cheaper. And if the doctor's working for the government to, God forbid, sit an Amy down and be like, you know what, it's not happening, blah blah blah, and they'll have some excuse. They're not going to say this is too expensive, but there's no incentive for them to get these resources. The incentives are to cut the resources, lower the spending, and so on and so forth. Under a free market system, you're a resource. The more they provide a service, the more money they can get either from you or the insurance companies. And the more you're alive, the more you're a customer. So the incentives are completely opposite. And if people don't believe me, I go to any of these other countries and look at lung transplant lists and what the likelihood of getting it is. And it might even be some really sick thing where they're more interested in fairness. So it might be first in, first out. So here we're going to prioritize, the guys about to croak, but there it might be, you know what, you've got another year in you, but you were here first, so you get it ahead of Ben. It's really sick stuff because it's the politicians making those decisions and the bureaucrats instead of companies who are trying to maximize profit, which isn't always upside, by the way.
Absolutely. So there's obviously many flaws. Well, I would even argue that the American healthcare system is totally capitalist because I think there are.
It's not totally capitalist at all.
Yeah, there's maybe not socialistic aspects to. Well, there are.
It's mixed.
It's a mixed, right? And then they put these boundaries up, big barriers to entry for other people to essentially keep most of the profits themselves. But yeah, so the backstory is I made a post about socialism, and in 15 years or more of using the service Twitter or X, whichever one it's been, I have never had a post where I've been attacked so much. And it was like the weirdest thing. So the question I asked you was like, are these like bot armies, or is there like Reddit forums of socialists that say go attack this person? Because it was wild how much hate, aggression I had towards me. But the thing that I want, it's like these socialists don't even understand what socialism is. It's almost mind-blowing. Like you guys claim to be socialists, but you literally don't understand what it is. And to me, that's like, oh my God, where are we at? Where are we at in society where these guys are saying, I am this, but they don't even understand what this is.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's by design.
Yeah.
And I think it's a lot easier to tell people the reason you're poor, the reason you don't have lungs is because of some group scapegoating them, the billionaires or the healthcare companies, blah, blah, blah. And in their defense, these healthcare companies are not angels by any means. I also thought it was really funny how, and I talked to several of my friends here who are like free market people, how like during the 2010s, all the corporations were the devil and, don't ban Monsanto and all this other stuff. And the second COVID hits, it's like, you got to listen to corporations, give these shots to your kids, even though there's no legal liability for them if something goes wrong. It was this insane 180 flip. So not only do they not understand socialism, they don't understand propaganda or the effects of it on them because they get in a row really quick.
Yeah, that one was, that flip was really, really, really wild. But so in my case, obviously I feel an immense amount of gratitude for people who donated, but the thing is, no one was forcing them to donate, right? And in both a socialist and communist system, it's government mandated use of resources. They are the one body who gets to decide. No one else gets to decide how the resources are going to be used. The people don't get to decide. And so it's like, if you don't understand that really, really simple concept, then you don't understand what it is that you're supporting.
What Ben's referring to is he had a GoFundMe and raise money, and they were calling that socialism. And it's like, but here's the other thing. I don't like using that word resources because my house and my time are not a resource for you to kind of, not you, Ben, but anyone to kind of exploit for your ends, even if your ends are positive. If you want me to help you, which I'm happy to do in many cases, you need to make the case. You don't just get to come to my house and decide. And this works for companies too. When I was working at Goldman, years ago, they'd be like, "Oh, we're going to."
I always forget you worked at Goldman. I didn't.
Yeah,
I always forget you're an evil globalist banker.
I was a help desk. Let's be fair. So people would call me. The bankers would call with problems with Excel, Word, Access, Outlook, and some proprietary programs. So I was not a banker, to be fair. But it's just like they're like, "Oh, we're going to need you to come in for the weekend." It was just like a given that my time was theirs, and I'd be like, "I don't want to." They're like, "We're giving you time and a half." And I'm like, I would rather have my time than that pay. And it made no sense to them because we need you. I'm like, I don't
Ah,
care.
that's too
This is
funny.
Goldman Sachs. Like the idea that my goal in life is to make it easy for Goldman Sachs was just psychotic to me.
Yeah, that's a wild one. And so I'm curious what you think, because I know you're probably going to laugh. Is that they're using this term democratic socialism a lot these
Right.
days?
Right.
But if the socialist society determines where resources are used, wouldn't that be really hard to be democratic?
No, not at all. So this is not a new term.
Okay.
This has been used for over a century, and they're using it to distinguish from things like communism or fascism, right?
Yes, of
So
course.
those are more totalitarian socialist systems where there's one party.
Hmm.
And here the argument is if you have competitive politics, you're going to be able to choose the politicians who are going to make it work and vote out the others. Now, the insanity is imagine if there's a restaurant
Yes.
and you pick this restaurant and you have to eat there for 4 years. And if
Yes.
something goes wrong with the restaurant, well, that's too bad. You picked it and you're stuck with 4 years. No one would accept this. You would regard it as crazy. But that is basically how politics work. You vote for the guy. And even if he's an angel, who knows what the circumstances might be there, and he may not be. If I hired you as my wrestling coach for 4 years, Ben's out for 40 days. He's getting a lung transplant. I'm stuck with you. You know what I mean? That's the kind of thing. There's no flexibility of any kind. So, and their point is it's not oppression if the majority does it. And it's like, that's called Jim Crow. The
Yeah.
black people were the minority. They were second class citizens. They had no rights. Just because if you tell that to them, if you have the numbers, you think you can do whatever you want. And they're like, oh, well, we would protect the minority. It's like that never happens. When one group has all the power and the minority is basically silenced, which is what happens in any democracy, that minority is rarely going to be like, okay, this is fine. You have to persuade them that to buy into this outcome. And that's happening less and less with America as the Democrats do not think Trump was the legitimate president. They think the Republicans think the 2020 election was stolen. I'm not saying something's right or wrong, but I'm saying if you have half the country not accepting the validity of a given election, that bodes really well for bodes very poorly for the government being able to move things forward, and that's where political strife happens, and we're seeing it right now in America. It's getting worse and worse.
Yes. Yeah. What do you think? Are you a sovereign individual guy who thinks that the current nation state system is going to break up, or do you think there'll be some type of political revolution in America?
I don't think so. Let's take those questions separately.
Okay.
I hear a lot of people talking about civil war. I've talked about this with Tim Pool on my show a few weeks ago. I don't think civil war is possible
Yeah.
because I don't think you have competing militaries.
Hmm.
What is possible is martial law. I can very easily see a president, Tim Walz, cracking down and just it's here. The First Amendment is strong, but if you make it out that like, oh, if you say certain things, that's inciting violence, that's not protected. You can mass arrest a lot of people.
Yeah.
You have the NSA who knows where people are posting. I think that's much more likely and than any kind of civil war where you had
I mean, it
competing.
is essentially happening in the United Kingdom. There was 12,000 arrests last year for online posting of speech.
Right, but and it's only and I don't think Reform, who look what's 4 years out to win the next election under Farage, are talking that much of pulling that back. Although I could be incorrect. Please double
Yeah.
check me on that. And people have to keep in mind everything happened in the UK. This is after 14 years of the Conservative Party. 14 years. Do not blame this on the left. The right in the UK, it's not like the US. We have three branches of government. You have Parliament, and Parliament basically gets to do what they want. This all happened because of the Conservative Party. And now they're looking at an extinction event election because, according to the last internal polling, if the British people had an election today, the Conservatives would get 14 seats out of, I think, 650, 14 seats. So they're getting destroyed, and that is the absolute correct approach. Absolutely disgusting, unspeakable party. And it's a shame that Margaret Thatcher, I would say, must be spinning in her grave, but she was cremated, so that doesn't apply. But yeah, it's horrifying. And I'm sorry, I love the British people. I think I love Great Britain. And watch what's happening. This kind of suicide is so. I was just there in August. Have you? I'm sure you've been there in your travels.
I've been only once for any extended period of time.
Oh, what'd you think of it?
I was only there for maybe like 72 hours, and I had a good time. But that's 72 hours isn't that long.
Guys, traditional security systems react after someone's inside, and that's too late. So I want to talk to you about Simply Safe. Simply Safe is different. It's proactive. They have live agents to actually confront potential criminals while they're outside before they break in or commit a crime. And their fancy name for this is Active Guard Outdoor Protection. Simply Safe keeps your home, property, whatever, safe. Hence the name. And if you've ever worried about the safety of your home, you need to hear about Simply Safe's early access Black Friday sale. Their AI-powered cameras detect threats while they're outside, and they alert real security agents. That's the game changer. Those agents take action while the intruder's outside. They confront them, let them know they're being watched on camera, and that police are on their way. They can even sound a loud siren. They could trigger a spotlight if needed. Like in the movies, that's kind of cool. This is how you stop a crime before it starts. Other systems have cameras that let you talk to intruders, but they're the ones who require you to see the alert for yourself. But Simply Safe, they have monitoring agents to have your back and talk to intruders even if they aren't there. So here's the big sale. My listeners get exclusive access to Simply Safe's Black Friday sale, where you can get up to 60% off on any new system. It's their biggest deal of the year. There will never be a better time to get real security for your home. All you have to do is go to simplysafe.com/malice, SIMPLISAFE.com/malice, and save their biggest sale of the year right now. Don't you want to keep your home safe? I sure do. No long-term contracts, no hidden fees, cancel anytime, 60-day money-back guarantee. Try it and see the difference for yourself. And when I've kept your home safe, you'll be telling me you're welcome. But you don't have to. Keep it to yourself, like your stuff. Let's get back to the show. What's the favorite place you've traveled to around the world other than the U.S.?
I had a great time when I went to Dubai. We did a lot of fun things. Had some good friends there. I went to Singapore many times. Or like that. But the most recent one that I would say my favorite is we did Sydney. I did a little like wrestling clinic tour. Sydney was amazing. I would absolutely go back there. I told my wife that we're going to spend a month there every winter once our kids get out of school.
So that's interesting because I have a party question, and people who don't know how to, if you're like a socially awkward, here's a great party question. Go up to anyone and say, what country that people frequently travel to are you least interested in visiting? And Australia is a frequent answer because people say, if I'm getting on a plane that long, they better not be speaking English when I get off the flight. So
Ah,
what was so exciting about Sydney?
so we went to multiple parts of Australia, which like no offense, Melbourne, but like I don't need to go back. Yeah, it was cool, whatever. Um, we were just it was probably where we were at. My wife got this great Airbnb. It was right by Bondi Beach, which is a big one. And
Yeah,
so the first 2 days we went down to the big one, and then the next day we were like, "Oh, this looks like another one that's cool." So we walked it out. It was freaking awesome. The next day we said, "Oh, this one was cool." We walked it out. It was freaking awesome. And so there's three really amazing beaches within a very short, walking distance. And then everyone there was like, it seemed to be really healthy. There was a lot of like healthy, just like real food, not like bullcrap fast food that is maybe too prominent in America. Yeah, just and obviously the other very positive point is when it's our winter, it's their summer. So
that's true.
that's a real nice trade off, also.
Speaking of food, like how can you talk about the process of gaining weight again? Like what was your reaction when you saw yourself in the mirror?
Man, I don't remember. I look back at some of the pictures of myself, but I don't ever necessarily remember looking in the mirror and thinking, "Holy crap!" In the beginning. After a while, like when I got home and I was able to kind of like move by myself, like when I would turn sideways, and look in the mirror, my shoulder bones were just sticking out. Um, that was like, oh my god, this is wild how much weight I lost and muscle and everything else. What the terrible thing was when I finally got to eat, which I don't recall which day that was, but they make you do a few tests to prove that you're capable of eating. Um, everything tasted like shit.
Oh,
It was like the very first time I could eat. Two of my good buddies are in town. I said, actually, where the hospital is where I used to live. It's like 20 minutes. It's not far. It's 20 minutes away or whatever, right? But I said, hey, this is my favorite sandwich place. Go grab me one of these. And they came back and like, oh my god, that was so good. Thanks for sending us there. And they had one for me. I took one bite, and it's literally my favorite sandwich ever. And I was like, oh, this is awful. Like, and I literally couldn't eat anymore. And so then for at first, like, I don't know if it was it was a while, a couple weeks. And I would just kept trying different things, and everything sucked. So I ended up like subsisting off like protein shakes and stuff like that for a while. Those are the only thing that tasted like okay. And then even after that, it was weird because it started coming around where it tasted better, but it was still like it grossed me out. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
like, okay, I know when I eat this is gonna be good, but right now I don't feel like I want to touch that. But then I was like, well, I got to because I'm, 100. Say after a few weeks, I don't know, 151 pounds. Okay, well, I'm still, 40 pounds under where I should be. So okay, I got to eat, and I got to eat more, and that type of thing. So yeah, that was a weird little thing.
I like the thing. You're such a jock. The only thing you could eat was protein shakes.
It was the only thing that tasted good for a long time. One of my favorite things, I love beef. Um, and that was the one that tasted gross for the longest. That sucked. I mean, that was maybe a like 6 week to 2 month period where it just was gross. And it was like, I love this. Why does it taste so gross? This is terrible.
Have you been back to the weight room?
So I still am not supposed to lift anything heavy.
Okay.
I have some dumbbells at my house. I think the heaviest is 20 pounds. Um, yeah. So mostly they want me working on like cardio stuff just to get the lungs and the heart moving and working. But yeah, so I've been doing, I usually do 1 or 2 days lifting per week, but
But
it's not like,
that
yeah.
I was gonna say that's gonna be the big mind fuck. Like when you try to do bench and you can barely do the bar or something.
Well, so no, honestly, what I started with was, I bet I could do the bar at this point, but like, my chest obviously was the worst because right they
Oh yeah, right. Of course.
right they literally sliced me. You guys can still see
You
the
look like a trans man.
That's what I'm gonna tell people. I'm not gonna tell my lung transplant. I'm just gonna tell them that.
My man name is Ben.
I got too rigid of a jaw to fake one way or the other. Um, so like I would just find like I initially just started with a wall. Like I would just lean a little bit against the wall, right, and do push-ups. And then actually the first day I did that, it was really weird because the next day my chest felt like it like pulled and like I had a hard time breathing. So and then I had to really like even pull it back a little more and kind of ease into it. But now I'd say I'm at like a 50 per 40% incline maybe, so like I think I'm getting close to being able to do a real push-up. So you're right, so I started here and now probably like like right there somewhere, and so I keep finding like lower and lower things around my house to do push-ups on.
And also, that first time you showered must have been weird because whatever you're feeling your body, it's gonna be alien.
That was weird. That was, yeah. Uh-huh. And I didn't, I mean, the first time my wife showered me because I couldn't really do it myself. Yes, that was really weird.
God bless that woman. I'm Ben again.
I
You,
think
you
she
brought
just
me.
wanted to see me naked, Mike.
What's that?
I think she just wanted to see me naked.
I really hope like you're there. Your athlete, her athlete husband, world champion, Olympic wrestler, can't even move, and you're like, you just want to see me naked. I'll tell you a funny story before because we're going to bounce in a second.
Yeah.
After Reagan was shot in 1981, right?
Mm-hmm.
As he's being taken into the operating theater to get the bullet out, he takes off the mask and turns to the doctors and goes, I hope you're all Republicans. And the doctor goes, we're all Republicans today, Mr. President. And he was actually a Democrat. Nancy, she's in the White House, right? And I don't know if you know this, there was a 20-year curse. Every president elected in the 20th year died. 1841, William Henry Harrison died in 30 days. 1861, Lincoln was assassinated. 1881, Garfield assassinated. 1901, McKinley assassinated. Warren Harding died in 23. FDR elected in 40, died in 45. JFK 63, and then Reagan was next. It was his turn. So she's at the White House. She gets the call. Your husband was shot. I'm sure she knew about this curse. She runs to the hospital. She sees him, and you know what he says? He goes, "Honey, I forgot to duck." And you know that she was like, "I'm going to kill you myself." like she's freaking the hell out, and she's like, "I'm gonna strangle you." So I'm sure, like, once you were back to being old Ben,
Yeah.
at some level she was relieved. At some level, she's like, "Oh my god, what I went through because of you, you fucking asshole."
Yeah. I think there was one, and I did. This is like the early days where I was awake. I have a very foggy memory, but I remember the first few days, like I said, I couldn't talk, so I'd have to like mouth the words essentially, and they would try to read my mouth. And then I don't remember, I don't even remember what it was, but I just remember the reaction I got. The nurse did something to make me really mad, and I just gave him the like, I flipped them off,
Yes.
and they're like, "Ha ha ha! At least you're back to normal a little bit."
Yes.
And I was like, "Yeah."
Oh, God. So what a wonderful way for people to spend Thanksgiving. I'm so glad to see you and talk with you. Ben, we're running out of time. What has been your favorite part of this interview?
Oh man, talking politics with you. I wish we could talk more about it. So the description you gave me of democratic socialism, I still feel like it's not democratic because once one party wins and they get to dictate where all the resources go, then another party is going to have a hard time getting back in power. So that, in theory, it may be democratic socialism, but in practice, maybe wouldn't play out that way.
Ben, as I describe in my book, The New Right, democracy is one of the few theories that doesn't even work in theory. It makes no sense in theory or in practice. I will send you my book,
I've read
signed
that one.
copy.
I read all your books.
You read The New Right?
I read The New Right. My
Well, read
favorite
it
one
again because
was
it's in there.
White Pill. Is that
It's right there, buddy. The white pill. Yeah, it's right
the
there.
White Pill? That was my favorite one because I think it gives a very accurate description of the despair that can happen under communism.
Yes,
Uh,
but also
the hope of communism.
the hope of defeating it. They
Oh
lost.
yes. But I remember the one scene that is like so vivid and telling. And obviously, I believe your book is fiction, but I think it accurately describes
It's
where
not fiction. What do you mean?
the White Pill.
It's not fiction. I'm
Someone
not
says that's
joking.
right.
It's not fiction. You think it's made up?
I mean, like, I thought it was a historical basis for what you were saying, but I didn't think it was an actual scene.
It's all real.
Okay. Well, my bad on the misunderstanding. Um, now you hate me forever.
I don't hate you. I'm just
Anyways,
surprised that you think I don't see how you can.
it's been a few years, so maybe that was just my recollection. But there's the one scene where the one officer essentially they know the guy is admitting to something because essentially he has to admit to it, and then you're saying essentially the other officer knows that that person's lying, but he can't say anything because if he says you're lying, now you're helping the enemy, and so everyone is essentially forced into complying because everyone is so scared of the next person turning them in and saying, "Oh, it was them," or it was whatever. So I thought that part is just kind of like none of us, or not me, I suppose there are some older people probably from either the USSR or Cuba who lived under real communism or maybe China. But it's so chilling to think about like how much despair humans can get in when they get to that point where they're so scared of dying that they're willing to throw their neighbor under the bus and say, "Oh, he was the one who did it," or "I heard him teaching anti-communist
But
propaganda."
Ben, it's not that they were willing; they were eager, and we saw this during COVID. One of the things I talked about in The
That's
New
even
Right is
scarier. Damn it! Now you ruined
there was a guy who was a recruiter for the Stasi, the German secret
my.
police, and a woman interviewed him after it fell, and she goes, "We didn't have to bribe them. They were tripping over themselves because they wanted to feel important, or they were bored, or they wanted someone to listen to them." And we saw this during COVID, and that to me is one of the scariest aspects of the human spirit. God bless you. God bless Amy and your kids, and you are welcome.
Hey, it's James Altucher. I've been an entrepreneur, investor, best-selling writer, stand-up comic, and whatever it is I'm interested in, I get obsessed. Yes, it's led to success, but it's also led to such heartbreaking failure. I have failed more times than I can count. I wish in my life I had people to talk to. That's why I started the James Altucher Show and bring on some of the most brilliant minds in every area of life. People like Richard Branson, Sarah Blakely, Mark Cuban, Danica Patrick, Gary Kasparov, and I wanted to find out exactly how they've navigated the highs, the lows, and everything in between. No fluff, just raw stories and real advice. I've talked to 1,500 of the most amazing people on the planet. So if you want to learn from the best and skip the same old canned interviews, we're all about helping you find your next big idea, level up your thinking, and ultimately to choose yourself. So let's do this together. Subscribe now to The James Altucher Show.
This November, action is free on Pluto TV. Go on the run with Jack Reacher.
Every suspect was a trained killer.
Then buckle up for Drive, World War Z.
Every human being we save is one less to fight.
And Charlie's Angels.
Damn, I hate to fly.
Launch into sci-fi adventure with The Fifth Element and laugh through the mayhem in Tropic Thunder.
What is going on here?
All the thrills, all for free. Pluto TV. Stream now. Pay never.